Welcome back to Seriously Caffeinated Season 2! Woo-hoo-hoo! My name is John Rogers, and we have a very special guest here. We have a very talented artist who is very well known for his gaming and graphic design. And I believe that I read in his bio that you are also in the Navy. Don Higgins. Hey, Don, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so...
Yes, true. I was in the Navy 4 years.
Yeah, that's super cool. I did not, you learn new things every day. So I saw Don at Granite State Comic-Con, which, if you don't know, is the premier Comic-Con of New Hampshire, which is, the Granite State, Granite Con, it's a thing. But, so we are on Seriously Caffeinated, where we are being very caffeinated. I have some green tea because I gave up my coffee for 2026 resolution, but not caffeine entirely. Don, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking Dunkin' coffee for my Keurig, my favorite brand and my favorite flavor. I prefer and love Cinnamania, which they don't make anymore.
Ooh, Cinnamania. That actually, is that specifically a Dunk's brand of coffee?
Yep, the Dunk's flavor. They don't make it anymore, so I'm down to my last 5 or 6, and honors to you. You get one of the last pods.
Fantastic. And hey, if you ever are in a tight spot, you can always auction some of that off for quite a bit of money. I bet a lot of those.
I don't know. I'm not in the coffee business.
Gotcha. Well, very cool. So we're here today because we are talking about the role of artificial intelligence in We are talking about humanity in the role of the era of artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is a hugely debated hot topic now. I have talked to people who completely embrace it, and I have talked to people who see it as the spawn of Satan and literally needs to be destroyed from the face of this planet. And so Don and I had actually briefly been in a musical performance of My Fair Lady, briefly, with Manchester Community Theatre Players in New Hampshire. And then I got the pleasure to see him again at Granite State Comic-Con 2025, where not only was he showing off his work and everything like that, but he was also on panels. And I feel like I saw a bunch of panels where AI kept coming up. And so, Don, I'm just going to open up the floodgates to you and, bird's eye view, blanket statement. How do you feel about artificial intelligence in specifically the world of art?
Oh, wow. That's a wide subject. Well, let's take a pot shot in the barrel. There are those who are of the opinion that it's just a new technology. Mm-hmm. When you analyze historically new technology coming into the art realm, it is rarely, if ever, embraced. Mm-hmm. It is always thought of as a gimmick. It is often thought of as a cheat. It's rarely embraced immediately by anybody who's been doing things traditionally before. So, when you look at, like I said, historically, the advent of photography. When photography was first introduced and tried to be introduced as an art form, traditional artists, painters of the time, no, it's not. It's not this. It's not art. It's just setting up and going click. It's not art. It's cheat. It's over in there's no thought. There's no work to it. And that's how they thought of it. Photographers took a long time and a lot of flack to prove this is an art form. It is not just a gimmick. It is not just artists started to realize the same adage that keeps getting thrown at me now. The genie's not going to go back in the bottle, Don.
Yeah.
And because of that, artists, like in the era of the introduction of photography, how do we use this as a tool? Not as a replacement, but how do we learn from it and continue to do what we do? At the time, everyone worked with models. Rockwell worked with models, Flagg worked with models, and MC Wyeth worked with models. Go down the list. Leyendecker worked with models. Photography allowed the artist to take a picture of their model and it wouldn't change. The folds wouldn't change, the lighting wouldn't change, all this information didn't change. You had reference, static, and you could work from there. That's boiled down, but how the technology was embraced by traditional artists. Leyendecker got on Rockwell's case huge because he was using photography with his models.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, what about your models? You're putting them out of work. There's a theme that we hear now.
Yeah, right. I haven't heard that I don't think I've ever heard that, but I believe it's true.
That you haven't heard that AI is putting people out of work?
Oh, well, that I just have. I guess what I was talking to is specifically models not being needed because of photography. But absolutely, I mean, AI taking people's jobs is everywhere.
Right. The models used to make their money not by posing, but by posing by the hour.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was click and done, their pay goes down the.
Yeah.
Sorry, am I allowed to say that word?
No, it's okay. I have the ability to do the bleep, so you can swear as much as you want.
Awesome. The rate for a model went down massively,
mm-hmm.
and they couldn't afford to continue to do what they were doing. But because the new technology put some people out of work, it put other people in positions of work. Then photography started to take the place of interior illustration in magazines and
mm-hmm.
newspapers and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The illustration market dried up. So only the really established illustrators kept working, or they found new ventures to go into. A lot of people who worked for magazines started doing children's books. A lot of the people who did children's books did this, and it just was a feeding frenzy.
Yeah,
trying to find enough work.
Yeah, everyone's trying to shuffle around, see where they can, because everyone's got to make a livelihood still. We're still human.
Yep, it's not just a matter of what do we do when the AI takes our job. It's what are we going to do instead?
Yeah.
So everybody who's an artist wants to continue to work as an artist, but the genie's not going to go back in the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Now this has happened throughout the ages. Not just photography. I mean, you can go back farther, and technology has put people out of work. I'm not talking about AI specifically. Technology has put people out of work in the art field. The printing press. There were monks who devoted their lives to retranscribing the Bible. Mm-hmm. And then somebody created the printing press, and all those monks across wherever weren't needed anymore because the printing press put it out faster instead of one page at a time by hand. So technology throughout the ages has put people out of work. How did people survive? They not necessarily embraced the technology, but they didn't deny it existed. They didn't deny it an existence. What they did is they learned from it. How do I keep my job working with this technology? Now, does that mean stop drawing? No, it doesn't mean stop drawing. That means, what can I learn from this? Hang on to your job. Work with what is in front of you. There's a reason why it's there. Find a use for it and continue.
Yeah, adaptability.
Just hang on. Adaptability. That's human nature right there. Adaptability.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that I've heard a lot of people talking about is adaptability in this age. Like, what are we to do? You know, you gotta flex that humanity skill that, you know, that we are innately capable of, which is adapt. Another huge example on a previous episode was talking about puppeteering in Star Wars films, and then George Lucas went back and just used CGI to, you know, replace everything and everyone's hard work. They still got paid for it, but, you know, I'm sure they're like, oh, okay, I guess, like, you know, we it's going to be harder to find puppeteering work.
True, but if you think about it, he went to the CG after using practical effects.
Yeah.
And nobody liked it.
Yeah, that is true.
Nobody liked it.
Yeah.
So what did he do? He went back to practical effects.
Yeah. They what I know that I grew up with the sequel trilogy, not sequel, prequel trilogy.
Prequel.
Yeah, I know that they had a puppet Yoda in the first movie, and then they went to the CG for him in the other ones, but I know that they were capable of doing the computer generated graphics when they remastered, you know, the original trilogy as well. So
then when they came back and did the sequels, they had that castle where all the rogues and what have you, all the not bounty hunters, but all the smugglers, were in that. That was all practical effects. Why? Because people like the practical effects better than the CGI. That doesn't mean that someday the CGI isn't going to be able to completely replace. But right now, they're not at that point.
Yeah.
That's the thing about AI. There's a lot about AI that sucks. But they're getting better all the time.
Yeah, it really is. It is growing. It is becoming, you know, I feel like it's memed so much on the internet, but you have the Will Smith eating spaghetti thing that came out 5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. It was terrible, and now, you know, we're putting out crazy, like, I am on TikTok reluctantly. I am on it, but, like, so many videos are completely AI generated, and they're pretty convincing, and there's a lot of people who, you know, can be easily persuaded. I feel like, you know, it's a generational thing too. Like, I feel like young people are definitely have a really good eye for detecting AI generated content, whereas, you know, older folks have a harder time distinguishing, you know, what's real and what's not. They don't look at it with a lens of skepticism. Like my grandmother, you know, I don't think she would be able to. She doesn't even know what AI is. I've tried to explain it, and she's like, no, I don't even want to know about this. I don't care. But so switching gears just a little bit. So it sounds like you see AI as another series of technological advances that humans, and by extension artistic humans, need to learn how to adapt from. Has there been any time in your professional career in recent years when AI has become to give you more of a challenge, or do you feel like you're kind of in a safe oasis from it in the art community?
There is no safe oasis. There is no safe oasis. Technology. I'm going to harp on technology, not just AI, for a little bit longer. Fast forward, Star Trek. You like Star Trek?
I've seen a few episodes. I am more of a Star Wars guy, but I've seen some episodes of Star Trek to know. What was I saw the one where, what's the robot dude's name? Data, yeah, he had a daughter, and they were trying to figure out, like, is he actually her father, or, like, do they own her or something? I've seen a good amount. There's
an episode in Next Generation where this race of whatever have taken all the children from the Enterprise because they need to do something with the bloodline, blah 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 blah, so that they can start having children again. So they need to bring in these kids. Now there's one of the kids who is an artist and a sculptor, and they said, here is this tool. Point it at that piece of wood and think about what you want to create. And the kid goes, oh, well, okay. And he points it, and this little laser comes out, and bam, there's this dolphin sculpture, wood carving. And they said, that's beautiful, that's amazing. He goes, that's boring. And they're like, what do you mean? You've created this wonderful piece of artwork. No, I didn't. I thought it up, but your machine made it. I want to feel the wood under my thumb and through the knife, and I want to create it by doing the work.
Yeah, it's about...
That's the whole point of why I don't like AI. It doesn't allow you, the artist, to do your work. I have gotten into debates with people because the selling point of all these AI whatever engines, you're an artist now. With all, you don't have to do all the college, you don't have to do all the work, you don't have to do all the training. You're the artist now, and all these artists who are snobs because they're artists have to back up and realize that everybody can be an artist now. It's like, we never said everybody couldn't be an artist.
You just have to put in the work.
You have to put in the work.
Yeah.
That's the point. The whole point of art is doing the work.
Yeah.
And those who sit there and say, I'm an artist now because I told it what I wanted to create. No. At best, you're an art director.
Mm-hmm.
Because what does an art director do with an artist? They come to the artist and prompt him. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want you to create for me.
Yeah.
So you're not an artist. You're an art director. I'll give you that. But you're not an artist unless you're doing the work.
Yeah, a lot of companies have, actually put labels called the AI prompt generator, and instead of art director. But AI prompt generator, that's definitely something that I've seen a lot of businesses start posting as like, hey, we need someone who's good at talking to the AI so that it can do these things really quickly.
And somebody who knows the terminology.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking with Sean Tima. He's one of our producers with CBC, and one of the things that we were talking about. I mean, we're just good friends, so we talk about a lot of stuff. But we were talking about, the point of going to the gym is to, get into a good physique, and to really sculpt your body and everything like that. Like, he understands why he goes to the gym, because you have to work to get that physique that you're looking for. And then for some reason, we switched over to reading books. And it's not that he thought that reading books was a waste of time, per se, but he didn't see, like, the immediate, like, cause and effect of reading. But everyone says that reading books is really good for you and that you should always do it. So I started thinking, especially this last week, about, why do we read books? And it's because, and not just art, but it is also art. One of the reasons that we read is so that we are flexing this ability to do the thing. And like you had said, like, you have to do the work in order to have meaningful understanding of literature, of beauty, of, like, because, if you say, oh, I'm too busy to read a book, then I'm just going to put it in, I guess summarizing books has been around for a bit, with, like, Spark Notes and, like, summarizing things online that a lot of students use. But having the summary is not the same as reading the book in its full. Maybe you can your way through, like, a class and the professor will believe that you read it, but you don't actually grasp the material of Frankenstein. You understand that there's a monster and that, Mary Shelley wrote about X, Y, and Z as themes, but you don't actually get to live with those characters. You don't actually get to experience. And, going back to art, it's all about feeling that wood. It's all about going on that adventure of being able to understand what you're trying to communicate, and if it's effectively communicated with just a stroke of a line. Last thing I'll say, and then I'll give the mic back to you, is I was watching I think it was the Nostalgia Critic. He's a YouTuber and he does a lot of reviews on like 80s, 90s properties, and he was comparing the old and new Simpsons intro. And he just went on this huge tangent about how there's one scene where Marge Simpson like looks around like, where's Maggie? And then she's in the paper bag that they gave her. And in the original one, the lines that they use as animators were just so fluid, and the lines of how her body moved communicated so much more. And then they bring in the rigs for the new intro where everything's just stiff and she just turns her head and said, oh, there's Maggie. So that was, definitely appreciating the journey is a very human trait, I think, and especially in art and everything like that.
I agree.
Yeah. But, so I have to go on to a next question that I have for you, although I feel like you've definitely answered this, but I'm going to ask this question as I wrote it, just to see if there's any other answer. So how do you feel about the role of humanity evolving in the world and increasingly shaped by artificial intelligence? And what aspects of human experience should we prioritize preserving or celebrating? I feel like for you, it's everything, because AI is just another technology that we had to adapt to. But is there any like aspects of humanity that you're afraid that we are losing because of AI?
We need to be very careful as a species to maintain our creativity and our ways of dealing with the hardship that we face day to day. An artist, again, let's go back in history again with technology. If an artist cuts his finger while working on a drawing and blood gets all over the canvas, it gets all over the paper, what do? You either A, start over, or figure out how to work with the red that's now on your paper.
Mm-hmm.
If a digital artist drips blood on his Wacom tablet, wipes it off and moves on, there's no hardship.
Mm-hmm.
If he draws an odd line and messes up the whole thing, traditionally, you start over, or you learn to work with that line that you've just put on there that doesn't belong. How do you work with it?
Mm-hmm.
Ingenuity. What can I do with it so that I don't lose the work that I've already put out on this page? Digitally, Control-Alt-Delete, gone.
Yeah. So
Control-Z.
And I'm not teaching right now, but I've taught kids for a good amount of my adult life, and that is definitely something that kids are losing the ability to do. I don't think kids were ever that great at it, but to be able to make mistakes and not get overwhelmed with it, and now we're moving them away from even teaching how to cope with those kind of things. We're removing obstacles a lot.
It's problem solving, basic human ingenuity, problem solving. Here's a problem. How do you work with it?
Yeah.
Well, if AI and technology does it for you, what are we going to do if power goes out?
Oh, no, not the power going out. I don't know how to light a candle.
There you go. AI, how do I get light in this dark room? Hello, AI.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. I've personally always prided myself on, I feel like I'm pretty good at, if there was an apocalypse, I would be pretty good at surviving. I have a lot of good practical skill. It was because my dad had me like riding my bike everywhere as a kid. He wouldn't drive me to places. So I feel like, that was just my gateway drug into, learning how to be practical and how to solve issues without having to rely on someone else. But I think I know this answer because you made your entire professional career around illustrating and art. But, I do know that you do dabble in theater.
I do.
Yeah, and so one of my favorite things, as far as CBC, is concerned, we've had a few, we've been having like animation clients, we had some film clients, and over the past year or so, like I've seen at least 5 of them move towards AI produced content now, which is very sad. But what's weird is that our theater stuff has really like skyrocketed. Or at least we've been seeing steady increase in the community and the tickets sold and everything like that. And when you were talking about dripping the blood on the canvas, it reminds me of how in theater, like if you mess up, there's nothing you can do. You have to like learn to adapt in that situation. And so like theater is, maybe it's not the most human art form, but I would be willing to make the argument that it is pretty far out there as far as humans need to do this. There's no erasing. There's just something happened. The wall fell down behind us, or like an actor passed out on stage, and you can stop the show and say, "Hey, audience, can we try again?" But no one thinks that's a great performance. Well, I mean, maybe they'd be concerned if like Spider-Man fell from the roof, but there is still this idea.
In the middle of Pride and Prejudice, yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah. There is still this like mentality, at least in the theater communities, of like no matter what, like you have to keep going, and no amount of technology is going to stop something happening on stage live in front of you. And so yeah, that's definitely where my mind went to, and learning how to adapt from that, I think, is probably the most human thing that we can do in art forms. So yeah, when's the last time you did a show?
The last time? Oh God. Well, the last show I was cast in was that production of My Fair Lady. And unfortunately, I had left to do a convention in Indiana called Gen Con, and my artistic career took off. And I came back with a metric ton of work.
Yeah.
And I looked at the show and how much work it was going to be.
Yep.
And knowing how much work on the drawing board doesn't get done while I'm in a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, professional wins over
community. Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely something to be said too, is that community theater just requires so much work. Like, like you can, I mean, just Tech Week alone is probably a good like 40-50 hours, let alone the performance and the rehearsals.
The other thing you've got to consider is that the realization is that even a chorus part, somebody will sit there and go, "Oh, it's just a small chorus part." Not in community theater. There's no such thing as a small part at all.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have no lines. If you're in the chorus or you're just ensemble, you're there almost every day of rehearsal, because you might need to be in the background here, or there's this big production number and there's lots of rehearsal for the dance that goes along with that. There is no small commitment in community theater. Doesn't matter what part you've got.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into consideration when getting involved with something like that. Now, as far as AI and theater, live performances, I don't think we really need to worry about it until they actually come up with a Android.
Fingers crossed.
That, I don't think we have to worry about that yet. Well, they're working on it. I know they're working on it. Everybody knows they're working on it. But right now, the actor on stage still needs to be a human actor. In the movies, not so much. Why? How can I say that? Well, take a look at Star Wars. And the fact that Carrie Fisher passed away.
AI, yeah. They put
an AI version.
Yeah.
They did.
I think they did that with Moff Tarkin, too. They
did Grand Moff Tarkin. Yep.
Yeah.
Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing was AI generated. The Mandalorian.
I've only
Who was
seen up to
CG?
I've only seen up to season 2, so I have not seen anything after that.
Well, Luke. Wasn't Luke.
Oh yeah,
But it was Luke.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker showed up at the end.
But it wasn't Luke.
No.
It wasn't Mark Hamill. It was somebody who looked enough like Mark Hamill that they could photograph him in a way and then CG a young Mark Hamill into the part.
Yeah.
So there's all these actors who are scrambling in their contracts, particularly ones that are getting into a franchise. You cannot use my likeness once I'm done with this show.
Mm-hmm.
You can recast all you want to, but when I'm done, you cannot use my likeness. And the studios are like, no, you signed up. We can use your likeness for whatever. It's in the contract. All the stuff that we want to put out, all the merchandise, all of this, all of that, all the other, stipulated we can use your likeness for our packaging. But we didn't say just our packaging. We can use your likeness, which means at any given time, Tom Holland can be 80 years old and still star in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. And luckily Carrie Fisher wasn't alive to see it, but Mark Hamill got to see younger version of himself. It's okay if you haven't, but have you ever seen or heard of a TV show called BoJack Horseman? It's on Netflix.
I've heard of it. I actually watched a couple episodes with my stepchild and hated it.
Okay, that's fair enough. It's not everyone likes it, but there's a whole plot point of like the main character gets cast in like a big movie, and then he like runs away to New Mexico because he's like having a crisis or something, like, and then he comes back and he thinks he's gonna be in trouble and get sued, and then the producer's like, oh no, we like AI copied you, and now your AI is just doing all the movies, so you're good. Like, here's your final paycheck. And anyway, yeah, it was looking at it from a comedic perspective, I thought it was a very good forecast of what the future is going to hold for actors. And I see also too, there's like I'm getting, not that I have really anything out there that I would go to court over, but I've been seeing a bunch of ads for like writers who want to go to court for and get involved in a lawsuit of their work being regurgitated because AI studied it and things like that. So
let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You're creating this fully animated production. It is being presented like 2D animation, hand-drawn. I'm assuming you're using a lot of digital tools.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. But it's being presented 2D as opposed to 3D CGI. It's a small jump from digital 2D animation to 3D CGI. Small jump.
Mm-hmm.
Still, if you got all this put together and you start going to distribution houses, I don't know if you've done that yet.
Trying to. That's a whole nother ball game for us.
And they said, this is really nice, son, but we're going to take it, we're going to buy this project from you, and we're going to put our CG animators on top of it and destroy everything you've done.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
So,
how do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, that's a whole can of worms, but thank you for asking. So, my big thing is that I've had a whole bunch of very talented people put, faith and passion into this. Like, I came to Devro, who's our music director and composer, and I said, hey, I have this great idea. In 2017, we were just directing a kids production of Beauty and the Beast in Derry, New Hampshire. And, we liked working with each other so much. I'm like, hey, let's write a musical. And then we got our lyricist involved, Sam, and the three of us just crafted like this script, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted it to be about. And I could talk for a while about what it's about and the history behind it, but I want to answer your question. So we had the three of us for 3 years. We brought on two good friends of mine who are still producers of it today, and then we brought on an art team. I did not go to school for animation. I drew when I was in middle school, but my big thing is I'm a theater enthusiast English teacher. I cared about deeply meaningful stories. I spent all my college years learning how to, dissect the books. What are the deeper themes of things? And so we started playing with this idea of mental health and, how do we interpret the world? Which is how we got our two main characters, Sirius and Hope. One's a very optimistic artificial intelligence, and the other one's a very downtrodden, like, she knows that she is not a human. But Sirius, on the other hand, thinks he's a human. So anyway, we got our art team involved. We got Max, who is our animation director. He was a huge source of wisdom. And Jessica and Jose, they were our two background artists. And so long story short is that, our entire team has been working on this for so long, and I feel like it's my responsibility now that I need to make sure that I can find some way to repay them. Which, it's a big journey, and learning how to sell property has, now that we made a product, now navigating through the distribution landscape, finding agents, things like that. It's been tough, but we've been, doing our best to go to Comic-Cons, to go to film festivals, networks. So to answer your question, I'm sorry, I went on a rant. If someone said, "Hey, John, we want to take this property and destroy everything," the first thing I would want to say is I need to talk to the team first. Like, I care about the story, but this is a team effort. I need to make sure that, either we're in this together where we're going to keep creating, because that's why we did this, is because that we enjoy working with each other. The process of creating the art is the most rewarding part of Sirius. However, as the person who kind of roped everyone into this giant, I don't want to say dumpster fire. What's the good version of a dumpster fire? The
campfire.
A campfire, yeah. So roped everyone into this enormous, cozy, very fun campfire where we do live music with each other, and we have art, like we do art projects and contests on the side, and have happy hours virtual because we're all in different places. My goal is to make sure that they are taken care of for the work that they've done. So I would want to talk to them, say, hey, this is what they have for the plans for the future. Do we want to give it to them or not? Because Sirius AI, while I think it's a very important project to me. I've thought about it for a long time, going on 9 years now. And I would love to see the story told in the way that I want it to be told. But I also understand that the real joy of it was being able to create art with a group of people that I cared about. And so if we sold Sirius for, I don't know, $1 million, and we got to pay ourselves with that and said, hey guys, I got us some money, what's the next project? So I think that's where I stand with it. If we all decided, no, we want this to be what it is, or do we want to see it as a paycheck and move on to the next project? And I think a lot of people have different opinions on that. My big answer to that, though, is to make sure that the people who put faith and care and compassion into this project are taken care of.
Okay.
And that, I'll wrap it up with this, is that one of the things that Sirius has done is actually opened up the floodgates for people to want to hire us, which has been awesome. And now I'm faced with this whole idea of do we start offering as a multimedia studio, do we start offering AI generated content when the client asks us, can I have something cheaper that's AI generated? And then it's my job then to, sell why should they use Jessica as a background artist instead of just having AI generated content. It's either you get that paycheck or you don't get that paycheck. So it's always walking a tightrope whether or not we have never yet produced AI generated content. So I think, yeah.
What is the message, the underlying message of sorry for generalizing. What is the message of your cartoon?
That's okay. No, I feel like you're reading my questions. So let me answer that by asking my next question is, does AI now or will it ever in the future deserve human treatment and respect? Does it have the capacity to be human? It's funny because we've actually fallen into this. When we first started work on this, we're like, oh, it's like, New Age Pinocchio. It's, is Pinocchio, a real human boy? No, that's kind of the tragedy, is that he's a wooden boy and he's convinced that he is. But what if you gave him another puppet to act off who's like constantly reminding him, no, you're not a real boy, you're a robot. And so that's how we kind of approach this from a mental health perspective, is Sirius and Hope were they are our dual focus of this. And it's, how do you see your place in this world? Some people see it as, I am real, I am here, and I am here to have a great time, enjoy people, communicate with others, and to really, because Sirius just wants to make art. He wants to sing, he wants to dance, he wants to do all these things. And then Hope, on the other hand, has her guard up, and her name actually, so it stands for Hostile Operative Protection Entity, and she's a weapon. Her goal is to not be hurt and to make sure that the foolishness that Sirius gets himself into is not going to get them in more trouble. She's very stoic and she's very down to the point, but she's also a realist. We are not human. We are here to guard ourselves until something happens and we're no longer here. And those two perspectives is a very human thing. To be able to, and I feel like everyone kind of associates with one of those two characters. But one of the huge things that we did not expect, and that really just slapped us in the face at a few conventions this year, GraniteCon being one of the top ones, was, oh, hey, check out our new cartoon. AI? Did you use AI to make this? I'm like, no, it's just in the title. The characters are supposed to be like robots. Oh, good, I'm glad you said that, because I was about to tear this up in front of you. And suddenly, we were confronted with this idea that, like, this is a very hot topic. Artificial intelligence is a huge topic right now, and what's really an actionable item that we can really like slide into really well is what makes AI, and what makes humans human. And exploring that, I feel like other movies and TV shows have done this. Like The Iron Giant, I grew up watching The Iron Giant, makes me cry every single time. And The Iron Giant, they have a conversation about, what is a soul? And the movie never gives us an answer, because Hogarth, the boy, is saying, my mom says the soul is the thing that's in all live things. And the giant says, do I have a soul? He's like, well, I don't know. You're made of metal, but you have feelings. And then, the movie never says, the robot has a soul, the robot doesn't. But at the end, when he commits his sacrifice, as the audience member, you get to make that decision. So
going back to Star Trek, there is an episode where Data is on trial on whether or not he is property or an entity, a species unto itself.
Yeah. And
they never answer the question, because they ask the guy who wants to break him down into its parts so they can be studied, because he's only a machine. And Picard goes through this whole process of what are the three prerequisites to be considered a living entity, a sentient being.
Yeah.
And two of the criteria get met immediately. And then they get to sentience and self-preservation. And he sits there and goes, you can't prove it, he can't prove it otherwise. But what if he is? Who are you to decide whether or not he is real, whether he is sentient or not? Are you capable of saying that? And then he turns to the judge advocate in the thing. He goes, are you? But they never answer the question.
Yeah.
So here we are. You're working with AI in your title, which is sparking huge emotion immediately.
Yep.
One way or the other, it's sparking human emotion. That's good for you. Don't change the title. Why? Because you're going to have people talking about your show.
Yeah.
So let the banter begin. Have at it.
Yeah.
But will AI be human? Who can say?
Yeah.
People have asked, sorry.
No, you're good.
People have asked, what's the difference between training an AI and training a wannabe artist? The same process is it there. If an artist, a human artist, wants to learn about painting, and he or she goes to the library and picks up books on Norman Rockwell, Frank Frazetta, N.C. Wyeth, Leyendecker, Alphonse Mucha. What are they doing? The same thing as if you took all the paintings of those artists and dumped them into an AI.
Yeah.
You are training the brain.
Yeah.
Whether it's an AI brain or a human brain, the process is the same. A human artist cannot copy exactly and not develop their own style from studying those artists. They're going to learn from this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and their own style is going to come out. An AI, at the time I was initially making this argument in other places, could not do that. It cannot develop its own style. All it can do is copy.
Mm-hmm.
So an artist who copies another artist is not called an artist. They're called a fraud.
Mm.
They're called, oh God, I can't say the word now.
Illustrating.
Forgery.
No. Forgery. Okay, gotcha. Illustrating. I don't know why I said that.
A forger. They're called a forger.
Mm-hmm.
They're not called an artist. They're called a fraud and a forgerer.
Yeah.
Now, these days, people say, well, now you can tell it's an AI generated image because all AI generated images look about the same. There's something about them that looks. This is how you can tell it's an AI image because there's this or that in the lighting. So is that style? Who's to say?
Yeah. Yeah, and
but the process is still the same.
One of the questions that we do really want to pose is, in the same sense, like, would you tell Pinocchio that he's not a real boy? Like, even though he's like, I am a real boy. Well, dude, you're made out of wood. I know that he gets turned into one by the end, but, like, that's magic and everything like that. And so we really want to put in the audience's face, like, you have this really optimistic, sentient artificial intelligence that is asserting that he is a human and that he knows how to be a human, and to look him in the eye and tell him, no, he's not. That's something that I think a lot of people need to make their own decision on with that idea. One of the, and that's the AI stuff, but one of the things that has been really, like, huge for us, and maybe this is just the teacher in me talking, but originally we were saying, what is AI? Does it deserve human treatment? Could it be considered an offspring of humanity? And should it be like Data's, or Data, I think it's Data, like his daughter? But after working with kids, and, there's kids who talk to AI chatbots about depression and loneliness and not knowing what they're doing, and then people losing their jobs left and right. I think it's never been more important for not only for us to talk about what is AI, but what is humanity and what is making us human, because every single day as we give up more of that ability to read a book or to paint, or like you get your blood on a canvas and then you have to like figure out how to make that work. Every day we give that up, we are losing a little bit of that to the point where we're going to be fully automated and, we're not going to know how to do things. And so one of the clever things that, we haven't implemented it into any of our finished products yet, but definitely in the scripts, is there are certain things that Sirius, despite his optimism, despite his enthusiasm to be a human and to go put on a musical production, there are some things that just aren't coming across correctly. Same thing as like, you know, the AI generated images. There's something wrong with the lights. There's something wrong with the way that the characters are drawn. It's too generic. And we're hoping that with that example, kids, you know, younger kids are going to be able to watch this and say, oh, I understand now what AI can do and what it cannot. And hopefully give them some like ability to really question, like, hey, when they're feeling certain ways about life, a chatbot can respond to you and it can talk to you about your feelings, but is it a human being? And you know, having kids understand what makes them human, that is a core message of what we're trying to do. Not just what is AI, but what is humanity. And I think that's our biggest thing that we have going for us right now. Is this is a show that kids desperately need about what makes you human. And there is, as you know, I'm really glad. I mean, that was definitely, I love your what's the word I'm looking for? Your
analogy.
Your analogy, but also your affirmation that we should not change the title, because that has been something that, because you know, we send the pitch out, the series Bible, the deck, everything like that, and we don't always get responses. Sometimes we get responses, but nothing huge. And we're like, oh, are people afraid of it because they think it's AI generated content? But we have decided as a group that no matter what, AI generated content will not touch this product, because the moment we do anything with AI, I feel like the entire meaning of it gets thrown away. Even though I would be interested in seeing what AI would do if we told them to write dialogue between our two AI characters. I think that would be very authentic, because they are AI. But the moment we do give it away to AI, I feel like we lose everything that we've been working towards. So, but thank you so much for asking me that question. I really appreciate it, and being able to talk about it from that.
The theatrical aspect, we touched on it a little while ago, but there's a thing, because you've been on stage, something goes wrong on stage, humans see that rolled up piece of whatever, somebody blew their nose just before they came on stage, and the tissue is lying in the center of the stage. Everybody sees it. The audience sees it, and everybody's looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
The actors know they've got to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
They either have to say something, or they've got to pick it up and justify why they've gotten up, walked across the stage to pick this up, say something about it, or just a human knows they have to deal with it in some way, because everybody in that audience is looking at that big white snot rag in the middle of the stage. If AI androids programmed to do the lines, the emotion of what was written, this is the program. Something goes wrong on stage, that snot rag's going to be there for Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, all the way through, and they're not going to deal with it. Why? Because it's not in the program to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's human condition, human emotion, and human problem solving. Which is why when an AI-generated image has 16 fingers and a left leg that's up its nose, an artist has to come back and fix it.
Yeah. Do you and we are approaching the end of our hour. This is a great conversation. I want to keep going.
I'd be back.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. You know, I want to talk more about theater, but I also want to ask you our big last question. Okay. I'm gonna hold off the theater thing. I'll just tell you after we've recorded. So, with artificial intelligence, do you think that we are ever going to come to a place where artificial intelligence will fight for human treatment, And what would you do in that situation? And not to get, I feel it's not political. I guess maybe this is kind of a race conversation. But like, there's been throughout human history, there's definitely been human beings who have been told you're not fully human. And I'm wondering if we're gonna run into that, like the data conversation. Do you think that we're gonna be having those conversations in 10, 20 years?
Are we going to be having conversations about who deserves to be alive and who doesn't? We've had that conversation many, many times, whether AI was part of the conversation or not.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at our own entertainment and how many movies have had a superior computer intelligence decide the human race is not worth keeping. Oh God, there were so many. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Hal decided, no, you know, I'm the superior intelligence. I don't need humans running around me. You're the equivalent of cockroaches. Now, let's go back. Let's go forward on a couple of other different, whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever you want to call it. Let's go to the Matrix. Humans were made obsolete because of the AI machines and computer programs. What did they find the only thing we were useful for? Batteries.
Yeah, for the giant squid things.
That's all we were good for, is generating electricity. And as long as we were happy inside our brains, that's all the only use we can figure out for you.
Mm.
But what happened?
All right.
We gave you a utopia to live in, and you burned it down.
Humans can never be satisfied.
It was too easy. We had nothing to strive for or against.
Mm.
So again, to your point of AI making it easier and easier and easier and easier, and we'll just take care of you toddlers. WALL-E, Disney's WALL-E. What happened to the human race?
Oh.
They became blobs in these chairs, the equivalent of toddlers that had to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Do you want that? I sure as hell don't want that. I'd rather bleed on my canvas and figure out how to work with it.
I think that was the perfect place. That's the perfect downbeat for this musical dance that we've just had. So I'm going to close this out, but let's hang on. I want to tell you about a theater thing that we're doing. So thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been Don Higgins. You should definitely check out some of his work. I will put his website in the description wherever this gets posted. And thank you so much for tuning in. And Don, thanks so much for coming on and talking about this. You did not, from what I saw at Granite Con, this did not disappoint at all. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
All right.